Hello, everyone. Let's see if you can hear us and if you can see us. Okay. We're happy to host you here at EverNorth. My name is Ekaterina, and I'm a licensed immigration consultant. I'm the CEO at the EverNorth. It's my pleasure, to talk to you today, to give you some updates, news, and some guidance. And I'm here with my colleague, with my assistant, Alina.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alina. I'm a senior case manager here at EverNorth, and I will be helping you with any questions you might have during the webinar. And please feel free to type your questions at some point of the webinar. We're going to answer it as much as we can. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to join, and then we will start our webinar.
If you can kindly let us know, by typing, everything's okay, or by typing, just any message like hello or even like a plus would work. That would indicate that you can hear well and you can see us well and everything goes smoothly, okay? Okay, perfect. While everyone else is still joining, let's outline the things that we're going to talk about today. So the first thing that we're going to cover would be changes in Express Entry. For a lot of our clients, we think that Express Entry would be the most promising PR pathway. And that's actually true in the current realities of the immigration picture, because Express Entry is the most stable thing that we can see in immigration. It has draws regularly. The other point is that the threshold is different for different targets. That's what we're going to cover, what you should focus on to strategically plan your PR ahead. Next, we will cover what exactly you would need to be eligible for very specific targeted draws that we recommend. Then we're going to move on to the French Mobility Program. You might be aware that immigration minister, when the minister was giving the speech last year and during her interviews this year, she mentioned a few times that IRCC would help and prioritize people who speak French, even at a basic level. I would say, right? CLB5 would be kind of basic, not very advanced, and help those people who know French and live outside of Quebec, help them immigrate. And we see that IRCC really favors Francophones. So that's something that might be very helpful for your immigration future and the pathway in general. Lastly, we're going to talk about the prospective changes in the Express Entry system, specifically about hourly rates, right, and the wages, and how you can strategically think through this pathway and what you can do, right, to increase your chances of getting the invitation to apply. Okay. During the entire time of the webinar, Alina is going to check the comments and collect, some questions that might be very relevant. Of course, we won't be able to answer all of them. For that, you'll have the opportunity to click on the link just right below the video where it says, free assessment form. You can provide us with your information, so our team will get in touch with you and we can schedule the consultation call and discuss your PR pathway in detail, and tailor the specific plan that would work for you. Okay, so in case something is very interesting to you specifically, just drop us a message and we'll try to cover as many questions as possible. Okay. Yeah, all good. Okay, perfect. So let's start from the first point from Express Entry in 2026. As I mentioned before, it's really it's a stable PR pathway, and for you to be eligible, what needs to be done from your end? So you need 3 points. The first one would be that you need to have 1 year of work experience, either in Canada or overseas. And it needs to be skilled, full-time, and paid job experience. The second one would be you need to pass your English or French test. Depending on from where you're applying and which specific work experience you're claiming, it's either CLB5 or CLB7 to enter to the pool. So once you have your 1 year of work experience, your IELTS, CELPIP, TCF, TEF, either English or French test is passed, you have, the right score. The next one would be education. So your education needs to be confirmed as well. So if you studied in Canada, all good, you're all covered. You can use your Canadian education for points and for eligibility. If you studied overseas, no problem with that as well, but you would need to have your educational credentials report assessment. So basically you need to confirm that your degree from back home corresponds with an existing type of studying here in Canada, right? So it matches with the Canadian education system. So once you have all three, you should be good to go to register your express entry profile. What is very important here that just to enter the pool, it's usually not enough. At least in these realities that we're living in, it's not enough. You need to be strategic about your work experience. So technically, what happened this year? IRCC introduced specific targeted draws. What it means is, apart from the general draws where everyone in the pool can participate and take part in, people who have at least 1 year of strategic experience within the target that Canada is looking for, they can benefit from the lower threshold draws, and technically it means that you have very likely that your chances of getting invitation to apply would be higher. So the strategic pathways, right, and the strategic targeted draws among the 10 that have been introduced this year, I would say are trades, are healthcare, and French targeted draws. We also have, in education, but they're not very frequent. So I would say we need to focus on these three targets: trades draws, healthcare, and French. First of all, regarding the trades draw, what you need is within the last 3 years, you need to have at least 1 year of full-time paid work experience that falls within the specific requirement of the occupation. So IRCC published a lot of knock codes. There is the list, like you can even Google express entry targeted draws, and you can see the system allows you to choose which target you want to check. And first of all, you check, trades, and you see the list of knock codes that are there. And it means that, for example, right, carpenter is included within the in-demand sector trades draws. So if you happen to have at least 1 year of work experience as a carpenter within the last 3 years, it's, good, paid, skilled occupation, and you indicate it in your profile, it means that the system, the express entry system, already marks internally your profile as eligible for these specific draws. So we have a comment saying that the voice is not really clear and the people cannot hear. Let me say, maybe I can move the microphone a bit closer. Let's see if we fix the issue. All good, right? If anyone else experienced this same issue, just let us know in the comments, and our IT tech should take a look at that as well. So we stopped at the carpenter experience, right? The same thing. If you happen to have this 1 year of work experience that's within the target, it means that internally your express entry profile will be marked for the IRCC as an eligible one. So in case, let's say you submitted your profile, you have this carpenter experience there, all good, and the draw happens specifically for the trade sector, your profile will be, among the ones that will be able to participate, so you can get the invitation to apply. For example, the general draw without any target is, above 500. Everyone knows that, right? But the recent one that we had for trades, which was in April 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, was 477. So you see how different the threshold is. In your case, if you can achieve at least 477 and you have this experience within the target, it means that you are covered, you are good to go. The next draw should be yours. So the same thing, it's not really about only the carpenter. You can see there are a lot of occupations there that you can be eligible for. So technically, even if right now you're not working within the target and you have the validity of your work permit for at least a year or more, it means that you can use this, valuable time to start gaining the necessary experience just to meet, the next draw that happens. Okay, and yeah, you will see like there are a few NOC codes there that requires licensing. For example, electrician. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get into the field without the licensing, but what we really suggest is to look at the occupations that don't require a lot of specific training to get into the field. For example, painter. Usually for these kind of occupations, you just do some training on site, right? You get guidance from an experienced person, and technically within like a month or so, you're good to go to work on your own, right? And painter is within the targeted profession. So what I encourage you to look at, if you are thinking of switching the career, that would be the wise pathway to choose, right? Just to qualify for these specific targeted draws. The same with the healthcare draws. So the last one, the threshold was around 467, right? So if you have the same kind of idea, if you have at least 1 year of work experience within the healthcare target, and you can check like which NOC codes would be invited under this target, so you can qualify with a lower threshold. Again, if you're interested in, like being a nurse aide, for example, you don't really need much to become a nurse aide, no licensing required from your end, also just some training and you should be good to go. If that's something that you can do, we recommend you thinking to switching this pathway just to qualify and benefit from the lower threshold of the draws. I hope this is clear. And once again, to summarize, the best strategic way to do is to see like what career switch can help you get into the field and get benefit from the lower threshold. Specific advantage, I would say, would be given for people, as I mentioned earlier, who know French, right? Who know how to speak French, but can't really benefit from everything else. So you can even have like work experience, just skilled paid work experience. Doesn't really matter, in which occupation it is. If you can add to your profile the certificate, the French test certificate, either TCF or TEF, the valid one, the good one, reaching CLB7 would be upper intermediate in terms of the scores. It gives you 50 more points towards your profile, and you can benefit from being selected under the specific category-based draw, which is designed for French speakers. And if we look at the history of the draws, just to give you guys an idea, we had a few, in healthcare, usually around 2, just judging by the history of the draws. The same for trades, it's usually 2 per year. As for the French target, they used to invite like every other month, and we had at least 5 this year, and we are only in May. So you see how IRCC is kind of, giving the priority and, the benefit for people who can add French to their profile. And we had around 8 or 9, I don't remember by heart, but it was more than 5 for sure last year. And the points in terms of getting invitation to apply, right? In terms of points, the threshold stays around 400. So you can imagine, right? Knowing the French itself, just getting the certificate showing that you can reach CLB7 in each part of the test, reading, listening, writing, speaking, boosts your score by 50 points, right? So if you have at least 350 points yourself, getting it by your education and work experience and age and everything, just adding these, strategic certificate, achieving CLB7 in each part of the test, give you additionally 50 points. So to meet the threshold, so you just need 350 on your own plus 50 more points because of French, and you get the invitation to apply. So French is perfect in a way that it doesn't tie you specifically with any occupation, but also gives you the priority in terms of how frequent the draws are. Okay, but we do understand that French is not for everyone, for sure. It's kind of hard to learn at the very beginning. So it can be possible that you do, both strategic ways. For example, you do French on the side, just studying meticulously, because French can help you extend your work permit, right? Something that we will talk about a bit later. Just working your way towards achieving CLB7, right, to boost the score, while gaining strategic experience in trades or in healthcare. So I guess the idea should be more clear now, right? What you should focus on. Of course, French first priority, then specific experience within the target, because it's really something that is working. And the fact that a few more targets were added during 2026. Now we have 10 targets. Of course, not every single target would be suitable for people, because in some targets they target specifically people like physicians who have experience in Canada. So there are a few people, like everybody understands, right? But these few ones that they introduced, the new ones, are something that gives us the clue that IRCC will not, stop the draws completely. Because I know we got, previous messages in the past whether we think that Express Entry might, shut down completely, or something will, go wrong with them, or there will be some significant updates, and whether it's a reliable way for, doing the PR strategy or not, because people were worried. The fact that they introduced, a few more targets, and the fact that the draws still are ongoing, gives us a clear clue that IRCC will not stop them anytime soon, even though some modifications may be, implemented, as IRCC were planning to do so, maybe adding additional points for something, subtracting points. But in general, the idea of, selecting people from the pool should be there. And we have, clear indications that it will not go away. So if you were worried, we assure you it should not be the case, and it should all be good. Do we have any questions so far?
Yes, we do have a question. And one of the question is, does self-employment count as a part of the years of experience? Well, for the Canadian experience class, the self-employment does not count for points, right? But to better understand your particular situation, you can also press the free assessment form and fill out your information. We will contact you to look deeply into your situation. We also have another question. My experience is an administration. Will I be able to apply for Express Entry? It will really depend on the duties that you perform as an administration field. Again, the officer look for the duties to determine the no code. So just by the name of the position, unfortunately, we won't be able to. But if it's a skilled position, it can be counted as an experience for the Express Entry, right?
Yeah, for sure. So as for the admin work specifically, So technically, if you have, experience going back a bit to the administration work, if it's a skilled work experience, you can enter the pool and you can still be invited under the express entry, maybe general draw. But as of now, specific targeted draws specifically for people in the admin field, they have not been implemented as of yet. Okay, so just to give you points for Canadian or foreign work experience, if it's a skilled position, then yes, for sure, but it will not give you the benefit for the target, if that was the question.
We have one more question. When it is likely they commence the new express entry under review? What qualifies for high wage occupation? Unfortunately, we might not have an exact answer for that question, as we still are waiting for the RCIC to come up with the new plan for the new express entry. So this information is still coming. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, what they're saying so far is, during the springtime, they will continue getting the information, getting the feedback on the proposed changes. And by the end of the year, hopefully, we will get the official news release, because as of now, the express entry operates within the same conditions as it was before, right? Just the new targeted draws were added. And basically, that's all of the official information that runs as of now. Regarding the hourly rate, changes and, proposed favor to people in high wage occupations, yeah, that's really is the point. So what is happening is the stakeholders are checking whether to add specific either specific factor in selection, targeting people who work in high wage occupations, or giving specific additional points if you have the job offer from the employer offering you the high wage position, or if you are currently working on a high wage. We do not know exactly how it's going to work. What they say is that they will be looking at the wage that is above the national median wage. So to be safe, I would say that most likely they will target people who earn at least $36 per hour. If we're looking, if we're looking to the numbers of the median wages. What also they were saying is everyone in the same occupation should be treated the same. For example, if you work, let's say the same example as the carpenter that we provided previously. So all of the carpenters basically, right, if they're working in the high wage would be treated the same. So not that, some people who earn way more would be given, more points than some people within the same field who earn a bit less, will be giving less points. We'll see how that goes, but strategically speaking, if you're earning at least $36 per hour, we consider that most likely this type of wage would benefit from either additional points or, some additional benefits, maybe specific draws for these people earning, at least this age. So I would say the range within, $36 per hour to be on the safe side.
We have one more question.
Sure.
If my postgraduate work permit is expiring, but I would like to stay with my wife in Canada while I study French, would I still be eligible for express entry draws? The short answer is yes, you will be eligible. To be eligible for express entry draws, you would have to be in a legal status in Canada. It can be a visitor, student, or worker.
Yeah, to better do the assessment, because you see, all of the families' situation, is different. Maybe you're currently working in the occupation that allows, your spouse to extend their work permit if you have the job offer. So a lot of, bits and pieces can come into play. So for these, for the assessment of your specific case, I would recommend you, to do the dive in, consultation just to see exactly which option would work for you best. But as Alina mentioned, yeah, the short answer would be yes, technically it's possible. Like the status and the approach would be different from family to family. It's going to be like a good option for us to move on specifically to the work permit extensions and advantages of the French, right? As I mentioned, while you work towards achieving CLB7 in your French, right, you can still benefit from extending the work permit under the French Mobility Program. And this program works brilliantly. A few years before, right, to be eligible for that program, you needed to have, CLB7. The rules were more strict. Right now, as I mentioned, Canada is trying to, to favor Francophone people living outside of Quebec. So they lowered the bar. And as of now, to qualify to extend your work permit under the French Mobility Program, you need a few criteria covered. So you need to have a job offer from the employer that's ready to hire you and specifically operate in any province other than Quebec. So it doesn't matter if it's Ontario or Saskatchewan, doesn't matter if it's outside of Quebec, if the employer is willing to support you, if the employer is good, I mean, like no complaints, no labor complaints, no bankruptcy, like all of that. If the employer is good and strong, they can provide you with a job offer to qualify. From your end, what you need as the applicant, apart from all of the other criteria that usually is required for the work permit to show that you can perform the duties that your Canadian employer would be asking you to in the job offer, the main criteria would be the French ability test. So the French test, what we're looking at here is you need CLB5 in only 2 parts of the test. So it's listening and speaking. So nobody would care what you get in writing or reading. This program focuses specifically on your score in listening and speaking. So judging by the experience and how the program was run in the past, these work permits are prioritized in terms of processing. For example, if let's say LMIA-based work permits or other work permits tend to be in process for at least 6 months until you hear from the IRCC and get the decision. People applying through the French Mobility Program, they tend to get their decisions on the file way faster. I would say around 2.5 months. So you see here how IRCC favors those Francophones. Also, like it's kind of shown, and it should encourage you to focus on French. So technically, to summarize, while you work towards your CLB7 to get additional points for express entry and you need to extend your work permit, there is the way for you. You need the job offer, you need CLB5 in listening and speaking in your French test. So Canada accepts both tests. You just see whichever you're more comfortable passing, TEF or TCF, both work perfectly fine. And you need to, of course, meet the criteria of other requirement for the work permit, meaning that you need previous work experience within the same field, you need suitable education to work in this field, but the main spotlight would be on the French test results. So this is something that you can consider. In terms of our help, we manage all kinds of applications for the PR, for work permit extension, visitor permits, study permits, basically everything that you can imagine and everything you might need. So if you need help with not only express entry, but the work permit extension as well, so we would be happy, to do the assessment, to choose the right pathway for you. And we recently partnered with an online school that provides, French tutoring, so we can, get you started and, set you up on a success if you are eager, to start French. So usually within, I would say, 5 months, 6 months, you should be able to reach CLB5, which is usually enough, for the French Mobility Program. within within 8 months, 9 months, you're usually okay to pass the test for the CLB7. Of course, it's not a magic pill. You need to put in the effort, you need to attend classes, everything is online. Right, you need to do the homework, you need to invest your time and really focus on that. But what we've seen recently, that it really works and people can achieve the desired results. What about the questions, Alina? Do we have more questions?
We have one question. If my postgraduate work permit expires, can my spouse apply for a master's program while I qualify for a spousal work permit? She is presently on a spousal work permit. That is a really great question. And yes, you will be able to qualify for the spouse work permit if your spouse's master program qualifies for that. In order for us to better understand your situation, please feel free to fill out the form under the video. Just click free assessment form and we will be able to look deeply into your case.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Technically, this can be the great approach, just generally speaking, right? If you are on a postgrad work permit with your spouse as well as a dependent, and the postgrad work permit cannot be extended, so it's once in a lifetime opportunity. A smart way, for some families would be, for the other spouse to start studying in an eligible program. That way, you basically, kill two birds with one stone. With additional completed education, your spouse gives you a bit more points towards the overall points of the express entry profile. The same way, you can benefit from an open work permit and you can continue getting the Canadian work experience while your spouse studies. Then when the spouse graduates, technically the spouse applies for the postgrad work permit, with some conditions apply. Like at the moment, the person who is applying for the postgrad work permit, in case they want to bring the dependents with them, like they need to be employed in a certain occupation to be eligible to do so. So you can potentially benefit from additional extension of the work permit, giving you even more chances to get additional work experience, boost the points, study French at a solid level to boost the score. So yeah, strategically speaking, that would be a smart move. But again, as Alina mentioned, it really depends on your unique situations, what you studied previously. Does your spouse has previous education completed on a lower level or the same level? So it's something that needs to be checked wisely before you apply. So yeah, we recommend you to have the consultation done. Okay, we have another question.
Yes, we do have a question. My postgraduate work permit is going to expire. How long can I extend it? And as Ekaterina mentioned, postgraduate work permit is a one lifetime opportunity, and there's no way to extend it. The only way to extend it if it was issued until your passport validity and you did extend your passport. That's the only way to extend your postgraduate work permit as of today.
Yeah, during this time, if while your work permit is still valid, if you manage to pass French at a CLB level 5, extension through the French mobility program would be the way to go. Usually what we say, that at least if you have at least 6 months left on your work permit, that would be the time for you to take action, right? Either focus on studying French or exploring other programs, because guys, the time goes by very quickly, and we say that the earlier you start preparing for the PR, the more chances of success you can get, right? Because, for example, all the way up until this year, for the targeted draws, express entry asked you to have at least 6 months of experience within the target. If you remember the example with the carpenter job, so previously, like last year, you would have qualified even with 6 months of experience. Now with the change that was, if I'm not mistaken, was mid-March, when they changed the system, and now they want you to have 12 months out of the last 3 years to qualify. So in this case, I would also recommend just starting early, so in case something changes, at least your profile is there in the pool. You might qualify already. And in general, the best rule is to have your express entry profile ready as soon as possible, because nobody knows what's going to happen, and it's flexible. It is not locked in. It's locked only at the time when you get the invitation to apply. So all the time before that, you have the right to, for example, you completed additional education, right? You just logged in, you did the updates, and your profile is there. Right, and it's with the boosted points, you have more chances of getting invitation to apply. You retook the test, or you added French, so you can log in and do the changes as many times as you need, just to stay on track, right? So this option might be the one for you. In terms of our help with the overall process, right, we can help you with the French school. We can guide you towards the best process based on your profile, right? And as well, regarding the express entry, we do have connections with some employers, so we might be able to connect you, to help you switch the career, just to set you up for success for the targeted draws. So if this is something that you want to consider, like book the consultation. We will get into the details about it. Regarding the price ranges, because I know it's something that people are usually interested in, we do offer a lot of different packages. If you need just guidance, or if you need full assistance and everything. So our base package starts from $2,500, working the way up as you need more services. So that's something you might consider as well. Alina, if we have more questions.
We actually have a question. If I don't have any Canadian experience and left 1 year and 3 months on the work permit, what would be immediate options?
Yeah, that's the good question. So 1 year and 3 months would be, still enough time. So you still can get at least 1 year of Canadian experience. So first thing, you need to check regarding the employment opportunities, just to switch gear and try to get the experience within the target. Any target would work, depending on your background, what you are willing to do. Right, and do focus on the French on the side, because even without the Canadian experience, only with the experience from overseas, just having the profile boosted by 50 more points, and having that benefit of being invited under the French target might eliminate even the necessity for you to rush and get the Canadian experience, right? Because if you have at least 350 points yourself, French would add you 50 more points, and the recent French draws were within 400, 390, so you should be covered with that. We have another
question. Can you help with the Alberta PR pathway?
Technically, Alberta, is a good province. If we're looking at the Provincial Nominee Program, their program had some updates, but it is still running. We might look into that for sure, depending on your background, depending whether you are in the province currently, what your experience is. If you have, the employer who would be willing to support you, right? Maybe the Provincial Nominee Program would work. Because for example, in the express entry, you are not really tied with the province where you live. So everywhere except for Quebec, would work for express entry. You can qualify. They focus more on the occupation in general, on the skilled work experience, rather than the province. Provincial nominee programs, most of them are tied not only with the work experience, but with the eligible employer and the job offer from the eligible employer. So we would need to check exactly whether you already have the connection with the employer, and just to do the just to do the assessment, just to see like which situation you're in, and yeah, like it might be a good option. Technically, all the provincial programs might be good options, but they they really like depend if you already have the support from the local employer that qualifies, or if you don't. Because if you don't have, maybe in most of the cases actually like express entry would be more beneficial rather than being tied with an employer under the provincial nominee program, because express entry tends to be faster in terms of the processing time in comparison to the provincial nominee, where you're going to be waiting for your peer approval for quite a while. And if you're nominated under the provincial program, the requirement is that you stay within the same occupation and stay working, legally working full-time with the same employer who supported your nomination. So we might look at you not being able to switch employers for around, at least a year and a half to 2 years, or even more, depending on the processing, because each province processes the applications differently in terms of the timelines. Some of them are faster, some of them tend to, wait for like 6 months to give the approval, then a year and a half the federal stage. So might be not the best option, but still applies.
I believe that's all the information we provided to you today. And thank you very much for all of your questions and for joining us. Again, if you need our help with the immigration, please feel free to fill in the form underneath this video, and we will try to help you as much as we can.
Yeah, the other thing that we want to share with you, with people who joined the webinar and who were active, who participated, is we get you 20% off of the consultation if you joined the webinar. So please let us know that you joined, and yeah, we will apply the discount at the time when you book your consultation. Thank you, guys, and yeah, hopefully we meet with you soon with more updates or in person for the consultation.
Thank you, and have a great evening.